I don't know if this is going to go anywhere. I am a mess. I've been sick for over a week. Not COVID, thankfully. But bad piece, bad. Um, so don't mind some occasional hack, and it is late. It's after midnight, but I couldn't sleep on this Friday night, so I came back downstairs because I haven't been down here in a while since I did those videos of the lot that I got, and I was sorting the rest of the lot into the collection, which I finished, and then I found more boxes and containers and Ziplocs, all that whole stack over there that I hadn't sorted into the collection yet. I've been neglecting it. And I actually see the floor again, which is also awesome. I took a large tote of basic brick upstairs because one of Sandy's friends asked for a donation, and not a problem, trust me. I think that's my 5th Rugged Made tote full of. I didn't donate the whole tote. They didn't want the whole tote. They just wanted like a box, like a Lego box full. So that's what we did. But I still have a whole tote. So I think 3. I had 3. Thankfully, they're not at my house anymore. Thank you, my good friend. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. For storing those. Because I have no room here at all. I have one full in the garage. And the one full in the garage is starting to worry me because it looks like the sides of the tote, the Rugged Made, are starting to bulge out. I don't know if that's going to burst at one point. It'll be like Lego all over the garage. So that's 4. And then I have one down here. That's 5. The one down here wasn't completely full, but it was pretty much full. And then we took a box of parts and pieces out for Sandy's friend as for a school project or something. Whatever it is, it was a worthy donation. That's all that matters. I'm hoping I'm vaguely coherent. I'm trying to enunciate my words, being both tired, sick, stuffed up, and Friday night after midnight. But I couldn't sleep, so I came down here to start sorting again, which had been neglected for a bunch of weeks now. And I thought, hey, while I'm sorting, I could make a video to waste your time. I'm wearing my robe, but I'm wearing my comfy pants. I won't show my comfy pants. They're not my Star Trek comfy pants. My Star Trek comfy pants are awesome comfy pants, and I usually wear them when we're camping. But they're a little thin. They're nice comfy pants. But these comfy pants I have are very, very thick and like warm winter comfy pants. Almost like long johns, but they're comfy pants. You can wear them in the public these days because a lot of people wear this comfy pants in the public now. And I don't mind that because I'm lazy and I have no fashion sense to begin with. Ask my friends. And my comfort, how do I used to put it? Your sense of style and fashion does not trump my sense of comfort and, happiness. So I have no problem wearing comfy pants out in the public. Not that I'm going to go in public after midnight tonight. So anyway, I was going to show you guys a few things. You'll see strategic piles placed around here. Now, normally I would reuse those bins and pile them in the bin so they could stay in a safe spot instead of like the piles getting encroaching on each other. That's what I normally do. But of course, when I started this sort, I didn't have any empty bins in the first place because all the bins were full. And so now I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Plus this big one that these black pieces were in, 15, plus all the Ziplocs. So there's about 25 or 30 different piles to sort. Now, that is good, and it'll take the brunt of the stuff that was on the floor out of the various lots. But I still have 2 other totes over here that are not basic brick, that are just kind of half built and broken or whatever, just thrown in there, that I'm still, dreading to sort out. And I don't know if I'm going to get to that in the near future, but that is the plan, to sort out those 2 totes. And the final plan, should I get to the point where all this stuff is sorted into each respective containers to go through all the containers in here and reorganize them, because again, my minifigs across 12 of those shoe boxes, at least 12, are just a disaster. There's no rhyme or reason to them at all anymore, which is kind of sad. And I keep on meaning to reconstitute my minifigs. I mean, that's a good idea, because they're kind of torsos here and legs are there and heads there. Like, I mean, of course, I got a ton of minifigs going back to unique minifig heads. They're just the smiley heads. But I also got, the first pirates and blah, blah, blah. So I do have a ton of virtual bevy, a cornucopia, as they say, of minifigs that I could reconstitute into their respective styles and or whatever. And a very good friend of this channel had suggested instead of, because the lots that I buy, that I want to buy, that I truly want to buy, are becoming very, very much less frequent right now. And I don't mind that, because I got a messy room and it's pretty full. So it has to be really exceptional for me to go buy something. But I do have a huge room of Lego that I should actually do something with. And he suggested that, because I did buy a lot of the AquaZone sets, the big one with the big raised blue blaze plates and the big dark blue doors and stuff like that, and a few other AquaZone sets that I could reconstitute. And because I'm not really that interested in AquaZone right now. I mean, I might be in the future, but I'm not that interested. That, he said, you've been talking about selling, like, reconstitute that and see what you can do, see what you can get for it. So I may do that. The reconstitution is possibly definitely going to happen. The selling, I want to happen, but again, it's the weighing of how much effort is this going to take, because I'm fundamentally lazy, and I always try to find a foundational principle of what I want to do before I make my first step. And again, it might not, that foundational principle might not make it to the end of the project, but it's the beginning of the project. Like I'm going to mention my foundational principle after all the brick fets that I did with the space layout. That, again, thankfully was brick fat, because I got to really, because this is so many tangents that I want to finish already. The very good and decent part about brick fat, straight up, is the fact that I knew the people running it. They didn't give me any special, backstage passes or whatever, but they were extremely accommodating to me just showing up. There was no demand of expectation put on me to perform. I think that's the proper word for it. They said, hey, bring what you want and show up. And of course, they knew I was going to bring a space layout, because they've been with me for shows before this. And but there was no demands on me, on my time and or effort. Again, I like to think I'm a value-added service to whatever I do. But so I got to experiment a lot at BrickFat, like first trials. Like, usually when you, and this is where I'm going with this, and this is where it's related, and this is why it should be good. Usually when you do a convention, the organizers, and I know some organizers that do this, they expect quote unquote professional displays and attendance. You're professional because you're interfacing with the public. No, I like to think I'm professional enough, and my attendance is guaranteed. But BrickFat for me, hey Dave, you need a 10 by 10 space? Sure, that's yours. Bring what you want to bring and set up what you want to set up. And you those of you who are around at I wouldn't say at the beginning of BrickFat, because the very first BrickFat, I just brought a space layout and I put it up on the stage, which I did like. And there's some pictures, really nice pictures of the space layout at the end of the stage there. So when you walk into the room, it's at the other end of other end of the hall on top of the stage, and you see it through the entire room, which is kind of like what the CN Tower used to be in Toronto. Wherever you were, you could see the CN Tower. So wherever you were in this room, there's my layout. I just adore it, by the way. They gave me the coveted space, the wanted space. But at a few brick fats, I brought the Easy Up. We have a 10 by 10 pop up that we use for camping. And the idea is that I was going to hang ships from string and thread and stuff like that. So it'd be like 3D ships would be actually flying in the air. And go ahead, Dave, do what you want. See if it works. Throw it against the wall, see if it sticks. That's the old expression that we always used to use. Throw it against the wall to see what sticks. And that I did that for a few shows where I brought the Easy Up. So I could hang space. And as a matter of fact, every time we go camping, because it's the same Easy Up we have now, every time we go camping and we set up the Easy Up, the threads are still there that the ships were hanging from. And again, it's just, nobody has to know. It's in my head. I see them, I snicker to myself, hey, that's the thread from all these, from the space layouts. But what happens is that, so the organizers of Brick Fat allowed me to do what I wanted. With like what I wanted. They knew who I was. I wasn't going to do anything radically stupid or bring embarrassment to the show. But they didn't force me to adhere to, or they didn't demand that I tell them what I'm going to do. They just said, show up with your stuff. And I got some bad pieces mixed in here. I don't know how I did that. And so the Easy Up was one of them. I just got to wing it, to bring the Easy Up, and it worked. It did work. And then I got to set it up, the same layout. I got to set up a St. Jacobs for months, which I think was one of my most favorite times of life. Because first of all, honestly and truly, without any sense of ego, I don't want this to sound egotistical, I love seeing the layout. I do, because I don't see it here. It's in boxes here. I got a picture there. And so when my good dear friend said, hey, Dave, we can set up in that room and you can leave it up for 4, 5, 10 months. Perfect. I set it up underneath the Easy Up, hanging spaceships and everything. And then every once in a while, I'd drive out there. Sadie and I would go shopping out there. And, hey, there's layout. It was awesome. And seeing all the fingerprints on the glass was awesome too, by the way. Again, it is such a, again, not stroking my ego, but it's such a, vindication is not the right word, because that means there was a negative connotation to begin with. It's such a sense of niceness that people do like it. But anyway, so getting back to the 15 tangents I have going on right now. Going back, so I got to try anything I want to do at Brick Fat when it comes to the space layout and what I'm going to display and how I'm going to display it. And yeah, I even started, again, still have a sick cold. I even got to, what is it? I got to light it up at Brick Fat, right? So, and you'll see through the Brick Fat pictures how it progressed. Like, and again, not two people would notice that, but only one little portion was lit up in the first Brick Fat, and I just kept on adding more and more lighting. So having that got me to the point where I got to create the boxes. I mean, Brick Fat was done before I created the boxes, but the idea of the boxes happened at Brick Fat. It was the very last Brick Fat we did. Again, I was put up in that nice little stage. Again, provided to me, which is fantastic. I didn't ask for it, but it was very sweet that they did that. and I got to have the layout there. And then, but I said, the boxes are great. The little stage is great, but I want the boxes. And so I got to build. I went and built the boxes, because it was just throw it against the wall, see what happens. And after I built the first box, because I've done things in the past. I've done things for shows. I've done whatever. And you have it in your head that this is going to be the most fantastically awesome idea in the history of mankind, and people are just going to swarm and say that's the greatest thing I've ever seen. And it turns out to be utter crap. I've been there. And that's why I don't build anything up in my head, by the way. Like I'll just tentatively show up and say, hey, I kind of tried this. What do you think? So, but I couldn't, by the way, I couldn't talk for a week. And my throat is actually hurting now because this is the most I've talked in a week now. So it's like, oh my goodness, it is bad. So I'm going to try not to make this long, but I have all these tangents to wrap up. So I got to, and then it wasn't at a brick fete. It was pre-brick. It was actually pre-brick fete with the copperized monorail track, but it was at a show, probably the hobby show, possibly the Toy Train and Doll show, but I think it was a hobby show, and I had let that alone. I had brought copper tape and power pickups and a 9-volt train controller, and I wanted to see if I could get the monorail motor working on the copper rails. I think I have a video of it somewhere. I'm not sure if it's on my YouTube stream, but I remember we had a video of the very first time we did that. And I think Derek is holding the track, and I'm holding the pickup leads of the motor on top of the copper that's on the track. And the second it moved, is like, boing. And again, the whole point, one of the whole points of this conversation is try something. Like there's so many times in my life that I didn't want to try something because I'm afraid of how it would look or what would happen. And then when I look back at it now at my grand age, I think all that stuff was for naught. All that anxiety, all that self-imposed pressure about trying to fit in and not rock the boat and not draw attention to yourself. I don't like drawing attention to myself purposely and maliciously. I don't like drawing attention to myself at all, but I can talk in front of people most times. I still get a little nervous about it, but usually I don't like to be the center of attention. This is going to go there. But I got to do all this stuff at shows, and I was inspired by a great many other things I saw at shows. Like straight up going right back to our hobby shows and the Toy Train and Doll shows, where I would just say, hey guys, I have a 40 by 40 area to fill in with like a dozen tables. Can you guys bring something? They said, sure. And they showed up and they inspired me. And I fully understand that when you're running a show, you can't be that laissez-faire on it because you have a public there that's that are expecting to see something. But I was very blessed, and I was very, very humbled looking back at my life where I was able to do all the stuff I wanted to do when it comes to this hobby. I was able to build robots back in the day. Just walked right into it. Started building robots. Loved it. Got to do shows. Talk to people. Talk to the public. Loved it. Got to collect stuff. Loved it. There's not been a single thing that I've done in this hobby that I find now, looking back at it, that I find that I'm embarrassed by it. And what I want to convey clearly is that the people I've hung around inspired me to do stuff and to think, you'll use the stupid expression, think outside the box. The boxes are thinking outside the box. Right? Because I was honestly tired myself of carrying cardboard boxes in like a dozen of these little banker boxes and the big wardrobe boxes and whatever else, and everything would be destroyed inside. And so I ruminated, I pontificated, I drew plans on a piece of paper for months, years, whatever, before I put saw to wood. And yet I look back at that now and I'm going, why didn't I do that earlier? Why didn't I do that for Brick Fat? Because I could have done that decades earlier. Because I've been rolling with wood since I was 5 years old. And the only thing that I'm looking back at it now is that I didn't want to upset the apple cart. I didn't want to put myself out there. I didn't want to be an embarrassment. I didn't want to, and that's all 100% self-imposed. Nobody was going to be embarrassed or nobody that's going to make me feel embarrassed. I mean, we shoot the breeze a lot, our friends and I. We do ridicule and rib one another a lot, but it's not malicious, and um, it's intentional, but it's not malicious, and it's not heartfelt. It's just what friends do. And so I showed up at robot competitions with the ugliest robot on the planet, and you get ribbed by that, and I still kicked their butts. But anyway, but Janie beat me. And again, that was adorable. I absolutely loved it. I'm not there to win. I'm going to kick everybody's butt at all times. That's not who I am. I want to enjoy myself. And enjoying myself doesn't mean I have to be the top of the heap. Enjoying myself doesn't mean I have to be competitive. I am possibly one of the least competitive people on this planet. I love watching other people win. I really do. I really, it makes me happy to see other people excel and win. But in and of yourself, and so just to wrap up all these tangents after 20 minutes, I look back at my many years of doing this stuff, and the one regret that I would have, if I had regrets, is that I didn't do stuff earlier because of what I thought other people would think. And corollary to that, or contrary to that, opposite of that, I also know that I used to show up at shows. And this is going way back to pre-BrickFet, where Jeff and I started doing a space layout in 2007 or 2006. I got pictures of it somewhere, where we just throw base plates out on a bunch of tables and train track and monorail track, and just that was it. And it was ad hoc every time. We would go into track designer and come up with the design, and that's why, we got to the what we call the square, which is 12.5 feet by 12.5 feet. That's the one that took us 2 days to set up. But I loved it. That was awesome. I didn't mind that back then. Now I'm getting too old for it. But anyway, this was going somewhere. All right, and that's when I started making buildings. Jeff inspired me to make buildings. Because back, our first layout, besides his space train that went around the outside, every other thing that was on the layout was a set. Everything. Except for I think the monorail itself was a mock. It wasn't a great mock, but it was a mock. Because it was Classic Space, and Classic Space didn't have any monorails. so I think the monorail, but the Jeff Space Train, for the first layout, was the only building, or the only built thing in the entire layout that wasn't a Classic Space set. I think it was not until the second or third layout that we actually started having our own mock spaceships and started making our own mock buildings. And I remember at one hobby show, or toy train and doll show, I had brought my original basic concept of what's became the tower, and it was like 4 stories tall. And people said, "Oh my goodness, Dave, that is so utterly fantastic." So this is where it's contrary to embarrassing yourself, I'm trying to make sure I make this as clear as possible, because it was wonderful getting the accolades from the friends that says, "That is fantastic. That's a great thing to have in a layout. That's a great mock," and then whatever. And yet in my head, it wasn't. I don't want to be Mr. Negative. You thank your friends for the wonderful support and the appreciation. And my friends don't blow smoke, by the way. When they say it's a wonderful mock, they mean it's a wonderful mock. They're not just saying that to appease you. They like the mock. And again, that's why I appreciate my friends. We can be honest with one another. So when I first showed up, the first show, and it was like 4 or 5 layouts into it, 4 or 5 displays into it. And I showed up in my first building. And people go, "Oh, that's fantastic. That's wonderful." And I'm going, "No," in my head. I mean, it was great for that show. But I said, that's going to change. And then the next show, the building has changed. And they, "Oh, that's wow, I'm glad. Oh, look at the difference here." My friends were observant. And they said, "Oh, that's great. Then now you can go on and do something else." No, it's not done yet. And it wasn't until BrickFet But even then, when I had it at BrickFed, if you look at the BrickFed pictures, the very first BrickFed in 2011, and you look at the tower now, it's radically different. Like it's got the same basic. It's almost like, and again, this is not the exact analogy because of course I love both, but it's almost like the original Enterprise and the original series with the two cylinders in the top and the whatever and the deflection dish that actually looked like an old radar dish from the 50s and 60s to the Enterprise in the motion picture. So the first brick fat tower, you look at it and say, at a glance, it looks like it does now. But the difference is everything in the world. It's nothing. Just the appearance of it is the same, but there's nothing the same between the one that showed up in the original brick fat and the one that I have now. And I said this many times, even on the weekend we just did our show a couple weekends ago. I didn't know at the time when I was rebuilding this after every show. I had no idea in my head. I just knew it was not right. It looked good. People told me it looked good, and I agreed it looked good. But I said it wasn't done yet. It wasn't finished yet. And it wasn't until I saw that building, this guy right here, because it hasn't changed. I mean, I've rebuilt it since this one. I rebuilt the whole thing 2 or 3 times since this picture was taken, but it looks identical because I had to run the wiring, I had to make it reinforcing, I had to make it modular, blah blah. This was not modular the way it is now, but everything in this picture is what the tower looks like now. But I've rebuilt it 4 or 5 times, but I did not know it was completed in my head until I saw this. But again, before I put the last piece on it, and I stepped back and I said it's completed, I had no idea it was going to look like this. I had no idea. I had a concept. I had some concepts. I mentioned this before. I had some concepts that I wanted to be in the tower, which is the raised landing pads and the observation deck and the cake topper. The cake topper was one of the last things, and the cake topper is what completed it. Because I did 2 or 3 shows with a cake topper on it. All the antennas were just on this piece here. And that was it. And I'm going, that didn't look right. And people, oh, it's so awesome, Dave. And I go, oh, yeah, it's fine, but it's not done yet. And it's not done until I saw it. And so now I'm wasting everybody's time because for the last, I don't know, BrickFet 2014, maybe 2015, that's the tower that shows up. Now, the rest of the layout's changed around it. But that's the tower that shows up every single time. And people say, oh, I've seen this before. Yes, you have. Now I'm doing shows. This is the dryness down here too, by the way. And I didn't bring a drink, and my friends online keep on saying, Dave, make sure you bring your drink downstairs. Because they watch these videos, they say, there's Dave without a drink. But again, I just crawled out of bed and came downstairs, so I didn't have time to make a drink. There are 2 or 3 reasons why I'm still displaying this. A, it's easy for me. Honest to goodness, I didn't even need my directions last time I set it up at the Kids Fest 2024. Because up until then, I have my directions, which I forgot here in this room, to get the monorail track all laid out properly. But now I got the whole thing in my head. So I didn't need it. And it's big. It's a cornerstone of any kind of display. You need big stuff and you need small stuff. And my goodness, I can bring the big stuff. So at least one big thing that everybody's seen me 400 times. So it's easy to set up. It's easy to storage. It just sits in my garage now. I do want to work on it, and I mentioned that before. But it's easy. And I know that there are people who haven't seen it yet, because people are like, oh, that's the best thing ever. Anyway, but for myself I keep on talking about this, at my age, I should keep on saying that because people start worrying. I'm only 50, whatever. I do want to add to it. Again, the whole idea was that I'll get it down to a science. If it's under 2 hours, oh yeah, this is the final benchmark. That's the tangent that's going to get to. Is that you have an idea in your head. I do not want, for myself, and other people can, your mileage may vary. You can absolutely, I've seen people that used to be like, or who are what I used to be like back then, where I didn't mind setting up a layout for 8, 10 hours or over 2 days. I didn't mind it. I mind it now because, especially since the shows have gotten shorter, the setup times have gotten shorter, and the takedown times have gotten shorter. But also, I realized as I was getting older that I was missing the actual show because I was still setting up. And that bothered me. It got to the point where that was really bothering me. And I said, I put my foot down. I think it was after the 10 foot by 18 foot or 7.5 foot by 18 foot layout that we did at one of those brick feds. It was wonderful. I'm going to say that. It was a lot of space. It was pretty empty when you actually think about it. And it's actually one of the few layouts that I don't have any videos of, really. It's kind of odd because it was the biggest one I've done myself. But it was 7.5 feet by 18 feet long. I can't remember how much monorail track I had on it, but it took me 2 days to set up during the convention. So Wednesday, Thursday, and into Friday setting that thing up. And then going, I'm missing the show. Like, I'm here. I paid money. I want to be at the show. I want to hang out with my friends. I want to talk. I want to sit down in a chair and talk Lego until the cows come home. And so it was that show where I said, no, I'm not doing this again. And so what happened after that is I condensed it. Again, my own volition. Nobody else told me that was too big. Nobody else said that, Dave, you shouldn't be setting up for 18 hours. But to make me comfortable. So this is what my mileage may vary. This is what I want to do with my time. And I set the benchmark right after that show. I said, if it takes me longer than 2 hours to set this thing up on a regular show, if it takes me over 2 hours, then something's got to go. And I looked at the layout, and I went home and I got my track designer program out, my 150-year-old track designer program, and I condensed everything into one small 7.5 feet by 5 feet layout. I kept all the one thing I regret right now is Jeff had the train station, the train and monorail station. That he kept on readapting every time I changed the layout. Oh, it's over here now, Jeff. Oh, it's over there now, Jeff. And he had to change the corridors and stuff. And he always did. It was fantastic. I love you, Jeff. I love that building. I absolutely love that building. I love the Classic Space logo in that building and the landing pads on top. It's fantastic. I miss that building. I also miss his air station, because you have to get air from somewhere, and it's like a fit inside the universe of the layout. It fit perfectly, and it was an interesting build using the basketball quarter pipes there to build that. I thought that was pretty awesome, but both those could not fit in the layout as it is now, and that's sad. It is sad, but it is what it is, because again, I don't want over 2 hours to set up. Also for myself, I do get conscientious when I have somebody else's stuff in my layout, or if I'm doing a show and I'm responsible for somebody else's stuff. One of my cute little stories is that if something happened to the layout as it is right now, supposing I go home on a Saturday night and I wake up on Sunday morning and I go back to the show and somebody cleared out the entire, stole all the Lego, I could, with little effort, rebuild that entire layout with parts I have in this room. Like, it's not there'd be very few brick link orders for me to rebuild that. So I can actually have 2 of those layouts right now, including the monorails. I mean, the bogies are something different, but I have dozens of monorail motors here. I have more track that I know what to do with, and we'll talk about that at some point. Base plates are not an issue. The trans yellow domes are not an issue. The cockpit's not an issue. The 45-degree windows, the classic yellow windows, for those 45-degree windows frames, I'd have to make a Jealous Panda order, and a big one. That's fine, right? But overall, I could rebuild that entire layout pretty easily with the pieces I have in this room. But that's my pieces, and I accept myself for my own responsibility of my own parts and pieces, that they could disappear, or they could get broken, or they get damaged, but it's mine, so I don't care. and and yet when it's somebody else's, I'm always like, it's somebody else's. I have to walk on eggshells. I have to like not breathe on it wrong. Because it's somebody else's. My stuff, throw it around. That's right. And when and I always like when people actually do help me unload the van. Yeah, just put it there. Like yeah, don't worry about it. Like I don't want you to think it's a soccer ball and kick it across the floor, but like I don't need kid gloves, but I treat everybody else's stuff with kid gloves. Um, but anyway, so there's a huge bunch of tangents there. The bottom line for me is I've done a whole bunch of stuff that did not come to fruition. You've seen, if you go back in my videos from a long time ago, the moving machines and the various robotic things that I built and whatever, that proof of concepts, and 95% of them I don't do anymore. Like a lot of that didn't make it to the thing. I mean, they're still sitting in my head percolating for maybe I can use it at some point. The one that did show up was the copper on the tracks. But look how long that took, though. That took 20 plus years before it became 100%. And I wouldn't even say it's 100% right now, but it's close to 100%. As show worthy, I've built things for shows. I have built robots and various things. Like the prime example is the door, the main bay door in the tower where it's the repair bay. That was built and I had it on my desk for months and I tested it and it worked, it 100% worked. I get it to the first show with a button on it and it just beep, and I'm going, son of a fuck. Now I have to rebuild the whole thing, and I just haven't rebuilt the whole thing because that means I take apart the entire center of the tower, and it's like I don't want to do that. But that is one of the things I'm going to do before the next show. So if it doesn't work, oh well, you tried and it failed, but it really didn't fail, right? You learned something from it. And so my only advice that I would give to anybody ever is that don't hesitate to try something, especially in this hobby, because you can just rebuild it. Like, I don't know if I can do that. I don't know. No, just try it. Honest to goodness, just try it and bring it to a show. I've said this to many people. Oh, should I bring this? Absolutely, bring it. If you think, if you have the doubt that is not worthy enough for the show, that's 95% in your head, 99% in your head. I've seen many people like hesitate to bring something to a show for display, and when it gets there, people are just wowed by it. I seen some. This is one of my favorite things is hanging out with other Lego people, and they talk about their builds and whatever, and you just sit there and you just listen, and they're just enthusiastic. The last bricks in the six that we had, because it took me a little longer because I had the lighting to do, so it took me 3.5 hours to set up, but that's okay. The lighting is the exception to the rule. If I get the lighting in there, I'm working, although it should go faster now. But anyway, forgetting that aside, I got the layout set up and I went and looked at what everybody else was doing, and I got to sit there and talk to people, and it was wonderful because I had the time. And I knew that for myself, my layout's done, and people will like it or people hate it, or people say, "Oh, I've seen this before. Why is it still here?" That to finish that tangent, there was another one I started talking about earlier. There are some conventions that will not allow you to bring the same thing to the same convention the next year if you go back to that convention. I've heard of these conventions. I've never been to one myself. Of course, every time I've been to it, I've only been to BrickFed. And every year I display my classic space layout. The organizers didn't seem to mind. But there are certain conventions, because again, they have to worry about floor space. They have to worry about fitting everybody in. Excuse me. They have to worry about fitting everybody in, and they have to worry about a whole bunch of stuff. So and it's not a bad rule. I'm not faulting. I'm not shaking my fist in the general direction of like the convention organizers saying, "Oh, I want to bring my space layout again." I have to show up the first time for that to happen. But I also know that there are some builders out there that will not display the same thing at different shows. They'll build something for that show, go home, take it apart, and build something new for the next show. And again, that's inspiring. That's honestly 100% inspiring. I can't do that. I don't have the time or the wherewithal of mental or imaginary capacity to do that. I can build little things and bring little things to shows. But for me, what I do makes me comfortable the way I'm doing it. And nobody has told me to stop. That's also a key. Nobody has come and said, okay, Dave, we're just bored of your stuff. Just don't bring anything anymore. I'm sure it's going to happen one of these days, but they don't do that. In the end, I know this is from my childhood. I know that this is from my growing up in the environment that I grew up in, that I'm very, very hesitant to try things that are different. Because that's the way I was brought up. You have to be normal. Which went out the window when I was 12 and still playing with Lego. But which again was a point of contention. Not a huge point of contention, but it's a point of contention, not between 12 and 20. But sitting back at it now, I wish I tried stuff earlier. I honestly wish I tried stuff earlier, because there is no... Okay, I didn't want to do that either. Couldn't get me working that in a second. But I never got there. I didn't get it because I was too insecure in my own self in order to try something different. And if I had a time machine and go back, blah, 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 I would try it, because it wouldn't matter in the long scheme of things. I look at all the shows I've done, and I don't do all, I have friends that do tons more shows than I do. And they put themselves out there every single time. And I love them for it. So just do not let your thoughts of other people, not other people's opinions. These are not the thoughts of other people's thoughts about you. These are your thoughts that you're attributing to what other people may think about you. So it's not like you can't shake your fist at them. I'm not going to do this because they might be, who cares what they might or might not. It doesn't matter. It matters you. You do you. And if I'm there, I'm going to be along for the ride. I'm going to love it. If I'm not there, I think that if I was there, I'd still love it. But I cannot think of a single time where I thought, I'm going to hesitate and not do this. That the hesitation was correct. Not one time in my life was the hesitation ever correct. I should have done it the first time. But instead of like making my negativity and down on myself, and it's not worthy of it, blah blah blah. I want to show you this. I don't know if I just thought about this right now. I don't know if I'm going to be able to find it quickly. It is. I don't know where it is. If it's even this book. It was really interesting. I should have had this ready, because I wasn't thinking about this one right now. I think it's maybe back here more. It was one of these artists, these Lego artists, and there's a picture of others. Found it. So let's just zoom in. Look at that picture. That is a 2x2 brick with a 45-degree double roof slope on it. And it says, the Dutch architect Rembert A. Jansma was delighted to rediscover his first architectural design, a 2-brick villa he built with a Lego set when he was 4. It's right there. I love this. And I think if you're my age, everybody my age did this when they were kids. This is the house we built. It was 2 pieces. I was happy to be recognized so soon with Lego I built my ego. Jansma felt that his villa style fitted with my Calvinistic, modernistic Dutch background. Love those Calvinistic Dutch people. Throw it against the wall and see if it sticks. that's the best advice I can give you. Don't worry about what you think other people are going to think. You don't know what they're going to think. You have no idea. So don't let that be a detriment to what you want to do. Show up at a show with what you want to bring. You know, you have to not step on the toes of anybody else, but I can't say any more clearer. I've had a good run. I still got a whole bunch of runs left in me. There's going to be hopefully 3 shows this year. I will be wearing a mask at my next show because I think I got this from the show. Because again, a lot of people came by, and I got sick on Wednesday, which is like right after the show, and it's stuck. So that's Wednesday. So it's a week and a half later. I still have this. My voice was gone from Monday until today. By the way, I couldn't even today when I was at work. My voice was a lot quieter, even though it's pretty quiet right now. I got the volume on my mic cranked. But anyway, so many tangents, so many times. I'm done. I hope you got the gist of that. I'm high on, you know, drugs and proper drugs for my cold, and I have a cold and lack of sleep. But other than that, I wanted to get back on here and, you know, I finished sorting this into piles. This is what I originally want to talk about. So these are the piles. My multi-part hinge pieces right here. These are my modified bricks. My Technics kind of piled over there. These are tiles, doors, windows, fences, and shutters. The wheel plates, the wheel joiner plates, I do keep them separate. I could just put them with plates, but they take up a lot of room and I don't use them, so who cares? Wings go separate, 2x bricks, modified plates, axles, round pieces, slopes, which will get subsorted into 45 degree, 33 degree, and miscellaneous slopes, plates, regular plates, and bricks. And then I just take them over to I just grab a handful and take them over to the shelving where the actual boxes are, and just dump it into the shoe boxes. Overall, it works out well. When you start organizing like my friend Jeffy, and like I've done with the blue and gray, it takes a little more effort to subsort these things out into the individual pieces. But black, I haven't done that yet, so I don't care. So it doesn't matter. That's it. That's all. Thanks for keeping me company for 47 minutes. I am going to go to bed now. You guys all stay safe. I don't know how many more videos I'm going to be making in the near future. I want to get over this cold. And I've been very busy with work, and I just came down here to get this sorted because it was a big pile on my desk, and I just wanted to say hi. So glad I did it. I hope everybody's doing well. Stay safe, and I will talk to you soon.